Josie, welcome to Mexico. You come to a very important event, Innovation Day with University of Tel Aviv. Tell me something about what is for you innovation. What does it mean, innovation?
I'll give you just a recent example that was developed in our faculty. And I'll give you a very specific example relevant to Mexico.
All right.
When you buy a tequila or a mezcal, how do you call it?
Mezcal.
Mezcal, sorry. You want to know how pure it is, or what is the constitution, what are the elements of the tequila.
Yes.
So we have developed a new technology in our faculty, which is made available by your phone. You take your phone and you take a picture with your phone of the tequila, and then you do what is called spectral imaging.
All right.
You analyze the wavelength reflected from your tequila.
All right.
It's called spectral imaging. You send this image to the cloud, and in a few seconds you get information about what's inside in the tequila.
All right.
And this is a new, exciting startup company called Unispectral.
All right.
Now,
it doesn't work. It only works with tequila and mezcal,
No,
or with
it works
beers, with wines. You know
with
that.
with
you know
everything.
that for many kids that can be also very useful. You go to a disco, no, they don't call them a disco now, to an antro, to a bar,
Of course.
and they ask for a beer, and they serve them something, and they don't know if they put water in it or they put.
Or they can put certain drugs in it.
Exactly. Can
so
you?
Yeah. So it's a startup company that raised up to now tens of millions of dollars, and the product is not commercial yet, but it will be commercial in a year or two or something. Now, it's very useful because you can do what is called hyperspectral imaging with your phone.
All
now,
right.
how do you split the picture into the different wavelengths? This is a special technology based on a very, very small element placed inside the camera of your phone.
All right. Tell me.
So this is one
incredible.
example. Now, how this is made inside you can ask yourself how this is made in a university, because we are a research institute. So, do you want me to?
Yes, that's all right. I'm just surprised because it's exactly want to know. It's how does this come out from a university?
Exactly.
You go to a university more or less to
You go to
study
study.
and sometimes to do a process and that. But you are creating a startup that is already getting money without being in the market.
So what we've established 3 years ago what is called a momentum fund. It's a special fund to transfer the researcher technology from the lab into the market.
All right.
So you can start your own startup in the lab. You don't have to go and hire space outside. You can start the startup in your lab. You get $1 million and you have 2 years to do it in your lab, and the money was
in the lab in the university?
In the university.
Wow.
Inside, and you can hire engineers to work in your lab, pay them decent salaries, not like a student salary. And then after a year, then you should transfer it after 2 years, or a year, you can transfer it to a company.
All right.
And this is called a momentum fund, and some of the leading technology companies in the world invested $28 million in this fund.
All right. This is a very interesting model to have startups and to have new.
Exactly.
Instead of a startup now, for example, in Mexico, if you you have an idea, you have to go find money wherever you can, or start it there, and then present the idea or the project. And the first question that everybody asks you to give you money is, how much are you going to win? How much are you already selling? It's incredible. I have an idea. I'm not selling anything.
You're selling nothing, and you know that in 95% of the startups fail.
All right, exactly.
What is special about Israel is that they are not afraid to fail. We love to fail.
It's a different culture, yes.
Yeah, in a different culture, and this is why Israel is so successful in startups. So the university went few steps ahead of the Momentum Fund. Another thing that we've established 1 year ago is called what is called Tau Ventures. This is to enable students, not professors. What I've talked before, it was about professors. To enable students to start their ideas inside the university. We dedicated a space, and we give a group, based upon a competition, we give a space and money to a group of students to start their own ideas. So they get a 20 or 30 square meters with $50,000, and they can start their idea inside what is called Tau Ventures.
And with the
and the money again was invested by companies.
And also, it's a win-win situation for the university, for
the
Israel.
University gets a certain percentage, and then the student.
Tell me something.
Now, if it's an undergraduate students, the university have no rights. So if it's an undergraduate student, all the IP belongs to the students.
All right. But they develop it in the university.
Yeah, but underground students are not connected to a research lab in the university, so they have all the right. The university has no rights.
All right. Tell me something. This model, what have you told me one of your experience? Is there any other experience in engineer that has been development? Because we always talk in these things. Tell me a little bit about other engineering process, because now everybody thinks about startups like something it has to be with an app, it has to be with an internet. It doesn't think about development machines, that it's also engineering to development, I don't know, processes in agriculture, in many other things that engineering is being developed. What else is working there or has been developed?
So I can give you an example that I'm also a scientist. I'm a scientist, but since I'm a dean, I have a little time for research, but I devote about 20 or 30% of my time to research. And we are developing a real engineering product, a sensor, which is a sensor for molecules. It's a small silicon chip that can sense selectively gases, molecules of gas. Now, what is it good for? It is good for agricultural applications, for monitoring air quality inside buildings, for monitoring contaminations.
That can be very useful in Mexico.
I can give you an example. It also has a lot of security applications.
For example,
you know that Israel has to collect information about Gaza and about Lebanon.
Yes.
Now, sometimes you have to do it from a distance. You don't have to go into Lebanon or into Gaza. You have to do it from a distance. One way to do it is by a technology that Israel develops, which is called smart dust. What is smart dust? These are small particles, tiny particles that you can spread over an area, and each particle includes a sensor inside, and one of that can broadcast the information. And one of the possible sensors is a gas sensor or a sensor for molecules, because in this way you can sense the presence of humans or of cars based upon the gases they emit. You know, a car, it's trivial. A car emits gases.
Yes.
You know, the exhaust
and
of a car.
And people also, and plants and animals.
And so you can detect peoples or animals. Most importantly is to detect people, and a future dream is even each person, based on the molecules it emits, it has a signature. It has a unique combination of molecules that he emits, like a fingerprint. So you can do a fingerprint based on molecules. And this is a kind of a sensor that I am developing in my lab. So maybe one day your telephone will be able to recognize you based upon the air that you emit, and not about the picture taken from you. So this is an example of a real engineering technology.
You know that many people, when we know in advertising and publicity, it says that smell is one of the biggest factors to sell something, to go inside a restaurant. The restaurant can be the ugliest restaurant in the world for that, but if it has a good smell, you will go inside to eat. And at the end, and again, if there is a beautiful restaurant but it doesn't smell good, you won't go. Also with people,
Yeah.
Because if you go with somebody that smells not good, you will say, no, I don't want to be with him.
So one day, not in the very big, it can be related, not in the very long future, you will be able to recognize smells with your phone.
All right.
Or with a wearable something.
Right.
So this is another example.
Tell me something. How does the process goes? If a company has an idea and says, I want to work with the University of Tel Aviv, please, I want to hire some engineers there, or a student says, I have an idea, goes with the dean.
So it goes both ways. It goes both ways. So in the beginning, I described you the Momentum Fund. So it starts from a lab. Then there is the Tau Ventures that starts from technology of students. Or we have a tech transfer office where companies are coming to this office regularly and review the patents that the IP that is developed by Tel Aviv University. And if a company recognizes an IP of an interest, it calls picks the phone, call the researcher, call him to a meeting, and they meet and they can discuss the technology transfer with rights to the university and rights to the researcher, and a very big part of the rights go to the PI, go to the professor, which is very attractive.
All right, that's interesting because the professor,
more than 50%.
It's also all right, the professor gets another incentive to work with that. That is something that doesn't happen in many parts of the world. Here, a professor can win money, can be a part of it, and wants to do it.
Some of our professors made hundreds of millions of dollars in this way. Hundreds of millions.
All right.
Companies that were sold to Apple, that were sold to Texas Instruments. We have many examples.
All right. Tell me something about that. When you start with a company, or somebody here in Mexico has an idea or wants to go to study there, what does he have to do to get in touch with the university? Or it has the university its own projects and it's coming and can present it to companies in Mexico and say, I have all these products. What company wants them? It's also that, because you are here in Mexico and many people will say here in Mexico, I'm a student, I would love to work in the university, or I have a company and I want to bring technology to Mexico.
So we have a lot of companies, not a lot from Mexico, but companies from all over the world, or multinational, that come to the universities and look for technologies.
All right.
Like all the companies that invested in the Momentum Fund that I just said, they were all non-Israeli companies, all multinational companies.
That want to have some of that. For you, what does it have to have a company or an idea to be innovation and to have a future on it? What are the meanings of, what do you think when you look at a company, they send you a project and you can say, all right, this has innovation and this has an opportunity to grow. What is the...
When I pick a company, you say?
When a company gets, or you get a project, or you in the university, what is innovation and what is an opportunity to work with that? Because I think they have to be a professor and a dean and an investigator. I think they have to be like 3 million of ideas that come to the university. Which ones to support, which ones do you think they have more future?
You mean ideas that developed inside the university?
Or the ones that they came to you by hand and say, can I do it in the university? Or a student that comes to you and say...
We have a lot of people coming to the universities, but usually it works bottom up. It starts from the professors, that the professors have an ideas and we try to market them outside.
Right.
Sometimes when companies, I give you an example. We have inside, now I'll talk a little bit about the Faculty of Engineering.
All right.
We have established in the Faculty of Engineering an organization called IAP, Industrial Affiliate Program. We have a 35 companies affiliated with the faculty, 35 of the top companies in Israel, and they are in daily contacts or weekly contacts with us, and they, from time to time, they come to what we call round tables. We make round tables with the engineers of the company and with several professors from the faculty, and we discussed projects which are interesting to both sides. And then they decide if they want to start a joint research, or they want to invest in an individual researcher, or to invest in a product, or to develop it into Usually, the most attractive ideas start with a professor. That the professor has an idea well ahead of the market, and so the professor initiates this. This is usually how it goes, or the students.
Tell me something. When I have an idea, or a person have an idea, what do you recommend him to look at to see if this is viable and it's a good opportunity? You know, I can come today and say, oh, I would love to have I don't know, a ceiling that will cover all city in 2 seconds. All right, it may be a good idea. Somebody maybe thought about that when they thought about the missiles coming in Israel, and somebody said, that's impossible, and somebody discovered the Iron Dome.
So the first thing is,
exactly.
First you have to, don't be afraid to tell people that you trust.
Yeah.
Talk to experienced people from the industry, like mentors. Right. Talk to them, people that have failed many, many times, and tell them their ideas to see whether it's a relevant idea, or a very important thing is to do a literature search and to see whether it has not been done before. So this is what we do in these Tau Ventures. We give each group or each student, we give him a mentor that work with him and guide him in the initial stages. So I think the most important thing is to talk to, without afraid of that somebody will steal your idea, to talk to people who have experience and see, and the most important thing is to see whether this idea has a potential market. So it's not, the technology is not enough, or it's even I would say it's not the most important part, the technology. The most important part is this technology relevant to a market and relevant to a big market. If your idea is relevant for a $1 million market, then there's, it doesn't worth anything. Because it takes several $1 million to invest to form a company. So you need an idea that has a huge market. Of course, this idea can change along the way. Many times the company starts in A, then goes to B, and then changes. But
it goes all around.
But the starting point must be an idea that has a huge market.
All right.
Or let's say a market above, let's say $50 million. Otherwise,
it's not worth it.
Otherwise, it's not worth to invest and doesn't worth the